So task 3, we'll just plonk that straight below task 2. So off the back of task 2, we can just go and start writing task 3. So that one goes as follows. Allow the user to input a specific day, for example, Friday 3, to be used for analysis of data. Find and display how many buses were late on this particular day. For each late bus, display the route label and how late the bus was on this particular day. There's task 1. There's task 2. Task 3 down here. Prompt and input query day. Obviously, it might not be in there, so if it's not in there, there is a long way of handling if it's not in there and repeating the question. But I think what we'll do is if it's not there, we'll just say that day is not, it doesn't exist. So I think we need to keep track of the fact that if we haven't found it in the days at the end, we need to obviously report that to the user. It doesn't necessarily say whether this has to happen in a loop. I think we can we could make it continually happen until they put a valid day, but it's easier to start with to do it without. So right, first thing we need to do is now prompt for the day, which is going to be a print message. Please enter a day in the format WED1, which has to be in the range that you've got up here. So it's going to be one of these days. Basically, they have to just type the string, Wednesday 1 in the format. Let's tell them the format, WED1 for Wednesday week 1. Because then we're going to hunt for it, and when we find that, we then need to do it. So we'll do input day. Be careful because let's put day name. Input day name. And now once we've got the day name, we now need to iterate all the days and hunt for it. And so we're going to go from 1 to 20, hunting for that name. For day, arrow, 1 to num days, next day. What do we have to do? I think before we even start iterating, I think it's probably worth saying that we haven't found it, or maybe make a bad variable, like a Boolean variable, to say that we haven't actually found the day, so that at the end we can interrogate that and determine that. So we'll call that something like found. Found is false. What do we have to do for each of those num days? We have to check the name of bus days, and we have to see if it's there. So that's an if statement. So if bus days at position day is equal to whatever they've put in, which is day name, that means they've typed a valid day, and we need to report statistics for that day. End if. So what do we do then? And there is no else, because we're just doing when we find it, we're gonna do some reporting of statistics for that day. So basically, they've typed. So for example, they've typed WED1. It iterates through that counter. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Apologies, 1, 2, 3. It just stops at 3 because they've typed WED1, capital W. It's going to be case sensitive, and we now want to report the statistics for that day. So let's look at the question. Find and display how many buses were late on this particular day. So now you need to look at all the routes on that day and display how many were late on this particular day. Display the route label and how late the bus was. So again, I could iterate all the routes here the same way I've been doing before. I might do that here. I might put my for loop inside this if statement. There's no reason why not. So this is going to be where we know that we've typed a good day at this point. So we know that we're at a good day position. So we're going to iterate all routes. check lateness, and printing data if late. So we do exactly what we've just done before with the for loop. So we do for root arrow 1, 2, num roots, next root, making sure we leave this if statement alone. What do we have to do with that number from 1 to 6? It's just going to go from 1 to 6. For each of those, we have to check if the number was less than 0 because we're interrogating that day. But before we do that, we have to select the appropriate array. To select the appropriate array from this root number, we need to map that 1 to the appropriate array, which means we have to do another case of. So it's case of root and end case. So it's the same syntax as before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And what are we going to do for each of those? We now need to select the appropriate array that we're going to use. And I could do to be honest, I could do it exactly the same way as I've done here. So if it's a 1, we're looking at the current one on that root. So I might just steal that entire section, paste it in the case of. Indentation's gone wrong. Case, end case inline. So iterate all roots, checking lateness and printing data if late. All in this block here, all in line with this. So now we now know that we're looking inside this root section here. In here, we're looking at current has become the root we're currently looking at. So we can now say checking lateness. So we need to check if it's late at the current position that we're looking at, which is day, because day is going from 1 to 20. So if current at position day is less than 0, then and if it's late, then what do we want to do? The format we want to print it, the root label, and how late the bus was. So we print the root label, bus routes, this one. Where is it? Bus routes at position root, which is the number that's going from 1 to 6. Print bus routes at position 1 to 6. That's the root label. Yeah, so we've made a copy of the root, so we can stick that into current. Then we now want, then check if that array at the current day position is less than 0, and if it is, print the root label, comma, and how late it was, which is going to be the actual value of current at position day, which is that. That just prints the label of the current route that we're looking at and the tardiness or lateness for that bus on that day. So that will just print the label out. It will do this for every route that happens to be late on that time, because if you see here, that's all inside that for loop, which just means keep doing that over and over and over again for each of the 6 routes. Of course, we now need to tell the user if they didn't select a valid route and whinge at them. And that comes at the end. Oh, that was the whole point of found is false. So if we did find a good route, which meant the person typed something good, that would come here. See, just before we iterate all the routes, checking lateness, it means if we get to this line here, where I am right now, we need to say that we did find a good, as in the person typed a good day. So we're just going to type found arrow true. And then at the bottom, you can just simply say if found equals false, end if. This is so we can do this bit down the bottom. Report if day not found. If found is false, print. Could even echo their message if you wanted. Day name. Day name is an invalid day. Found is false, yeah. I mean, we can try that out. Let's see how that comes across. So we've got task 1, 2, and 3 in there. We can probably test it now. There's all of task 1. We can make it easier to read later. That's pretty much it. There's task 3. Enter a day in the format Wednesday 1 for week 1. Get the day. Set found to false. For each day, if that is, if the day array at position day equals the day name, because it's just going to jump. If it's not, this if statement, it just goes on to the next one, the next day, and nothing happens. Well, let's try that and see if that works. No end found for if in code block. End if should have been one word. Oh, that was off the end of my last video. Task 2, where I put that little error message in. Where is it? It's in task 2 where I was whinging about... No, it wasn't. It was in task 1. It's that end if there. In the video, I put a little space there for the end if. Syntax error in pseudocode. That's if found is false. What's wrong with that? Found is false. Found is true. Yeah. If found equals false. If found is false. Why have we got an error there? If found is false. Is it the day? There's the for loop, 1 to num days. There's the root. Next root is there. There's the root. For root is 1 to num roots. There's that one. There's the end if. If bus days at position day is the day name. If found equals false. Then that's going to be a string. And run it. Just check I'm doing it with 2 and 20, 2 and 6, okay. Time for Monday 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because I typed loads of positive numbers, let's test if that's behaving itself to start with. Let's try and type something silly in there. Yep, okay, so we're getting the invalid day message there, that's good. And we will run it again, except this time we'll do, we'll interrogate Monday 1, and we'll make, we will make Monday 1, considering the task of this job is how many buses. Let's make a couple of buses late on Monday 1, and we'll interrogate that. So we'll go -2, -3, -15. Actually, let's test out my validation rule as well. Let's make that -200 error. Range of values must lie between -20 and 15. So that's working from before. So we'll go -20. And the rest will all make positive. and obviously we're going to interrogate Monday 1, making sure I type it exactly correctly. And you can see Monday 1, A was -2, B was -3, and C was -20, which is what's happening for each the route label and how late the bus was on this particular day. -2, -3, -20. -2, -3, -20. Yep, and there they are. You could tidy up the formatting there. Route A was late 1 time, its average lateness was 0.0. There's, you could do quite a lot to tidy up the formatting, so not late 1 times, you could change that to 1 time and so on. But that's the main gist of the program. And yeah, it is 130 lines, but you could tidy it up. I'm sure you could trim that down and neaten it down to about 100 lines or so. And you could probably save some lines in there, quite a lot of places. You'll also notice I've been a little bit inconsistent with some of my variable identifiers, which is quite bad practice, but I often do tidy it up afterwards. So, for example, I've been using lower camel case for some of these variables here. And in some places you can see that I have also used upper camel case in some places. For example, here. The rule is be consistent. Make sure you're consistent throughout your program, unlike what I've just done. So right now I would go and tidy this, which is what I would expect from you lot.